Thanks for joining us today. This is the Winning Together podcast, where we are completing our third and final episode of a three-part series of looking at a hero's journey through recovery. What is the road back? What's the resurrection? What was worth the sacrifice to become the person that can slay the dragons? Is the treasure what you wanted? How do you become the person that can hold on to the treasure that you earn and grow from engaging with your life story and doing your hard and choosing to become someone better than you are today? Find out how this hero does it, get inspired ideas on how you can do it, and find ways to win together. That's how we do it. Thanks for joining us. So there's two things I really think we need to make sure you are able to share. And that is, how have you taken the power out of the past and put it in the present or the future? And your superpower, integrity.
Those are two great questions. Be that punk. It felt good to me at the time because I was able to feed that ego with things like, it's not my fault. You know, you're just not very lucky. All these excuses that I realized that they were feeding my ego. Like, for me, this life...
By the way, the thinking that would never fly on the college football field.
Never, not a million years.
But this other part of your life, it's totally kosher.
Right, for me, this entire life is truly, it comes down to a battle between spirit and ego. Right, and when I'm in that victim mentality and I'm feeding that ego, what that does is it helps me realize how good it feels to be in spirit. That's probably the best way I could sum it up. Well, that's why those have been great experiences for me.
You're such a spiritual person, so to be not feeding that or honoring that part of you, that must have hurt so much.
It is so dark. It is so dark and painful, and it has helped me grow a lot.
Way to flip that. So if I were to ask you to say, I am integrity, what comes up for you? So first of all, say it.
What I say, I do.
No, just say, I am integrity.
I am integrity.
Tell me more.
Integrity is where the power's at, man. Integrity is like, it brings every philosophy I've ever heard and it all combines them into one big, huge, manifesting, creating power. And I'm not going to sit here and say that everything I say, I do. It's not that way at all. That's what I'm working on. I will tell you this, if I write something down at night before I go to bed that I'm going to do the next day, I do make sure I do that, right? But the more I'm in integrity with myself, the more I'm able to be in an integrity with other people, and the more magic I see just magically happen in my life. It's raising my vibration, it's raising my energy, it's getting rid of all those excuses for guilt and shame to start drilling at me. Because I'm in integrity with myself. It's truly the most powerful thing I can do, is stay in it.
And at one time, you know, especially for alcoholic dynamics and alcoholics or people that drink, particularly though that path, man, there is a unique, specifically, you know, significant allergy to integrity in the whole system.
Yeah, because who's proud to be that person? You're going to do everything you can. I'm going to do everything I can when I'm in that, to hide it, to lie about it, and that just spirals in the wrong direction. And I want to say, remember, it really starts with little things, man. Like, if somebody out there is wondering, how do I start working on my integrity? It's like, just start with the little things. The little things like, you're going to start making your bed every day. You know, I'm going to start eating better. What does that mean, right? That's so big. You know, narrow it down to just some simple little things. And then as I was able to have integrity with myself and the little small things, then all of a sudden the medium and large and extra large things, they just start coming. That's kind of the best way I can describe that. Don't look at it all as some big thing that you can't do. Just bring it back to right now, my living meditation, and do what I said I'm going to do right now.
I think that really kind of goes back to what you were saying, Jared, too, about keeping the power with you. If you really are the author of your story you want to be, you got to put the power where you can control it. And most often it's those small things that you're doing that you can do that affect the outcome you're after, or the experience.
So just a quick highlight, when you live with integrity, and Jason, I want to come play devil's advocate with you, you start to brim with light. You start to show up in other people's lives. All those expectations of you being the good father, the good partner, the good man, the good worker, all those things start to rise. How do you not buy into the hype?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a really good one. You know, again, ego versus spirit, it brings me back to that. And the ego's a powerful thing. And so anytime I make it about me, I did this, then I'm completely in ego and I'm completely wrong. Staying in spirit is knowing that things are happening for me and for everybody else around me, for all of our best interest and growth. And I'm just a player. I just get to remind myself that I'm blessed enough to be a pawn in what truly can be a beautiful life, what I'm doing. It's all cliche, but we know it, the next right thing. You gotta stick, I just gotta stay in it. So back to ego versus spirit, I guess, was a short answer.
So in your path to where you're at today, you've probably come to a similar crescendo a few times. What was it that pulled you out of spirit and back to ego, or whatever it was that toppled your tower in the past?
Yeah,
Great question.
that is a great question. And so what comes to mind for that is self-sabotage. And back to old thought patterns. So in our brain we have a safety mechanism, right? Seeking safety. And so what happens is when things start to go good for me and the pressure starts to build because I'm in ego and the unpredictable's right around the corner, then what I'm gonna do, if I'm stuck in my old thought patterns and starting to get into that ego, is my brain, to seek safety, will sabotage everything. It'll burn everything to the ground just to be able to predict what's going to happen next. It's twisted. That's how my brain will find safety, is by sabotaging everything that's unpredictable, even if it's good, so I can predict that outcome.
Wow.
Even if it's the worst outcome.
Even if it's the worst outcome, at least I know what it's going to be. That's how it's been in the past. But being aware of that now and catching when ego's starting to take over and when my brain's starting to want to self-sabotage so I can predict what's going to happen next, rather than just keep my chest up, keep doing what I'm doing and face the unpredictable. Just being aware of that has helped me recorrect quite a few times.
I think really your willingness to accept a challenge and run for all you ever run, go do a cold swim, do a counseling session, say sorry, change how you show up in your relationship, have all been areas that you're like, I am getting more comfortable being uncomfortable. So I know we're getting long here, but I want you to flip that question to Jared, and I want you to ask him the same question he asked you. So I want you to ask him, like, how do you actually keep in that space of like moving forward too?
Yeah, Jared, how do you keep the momentum going and move forward?
Oh, wow. Now you're really playing games with me. So there's two ways I find it happening in my life. One is it happens to me, and I happen to it. So things that happen to me is life is definitely a challenge. There's plenty of obstacles, plenty of hard. And when those things come to me, how I respond with gratitude, a good perspective, how I view the world, how I don't become reactive anymore. That used to be a huge issue for me too. Instead, I seek for perspective, seek for understanding, seek for reasons to positively assume. So when life happens to me, I've gotten much better at how I respond. At least I feel like I have. The other side of that is my choice on what I'm going to do to life. As I choose to seek ways to humble myself, whether that's through exercise or through taking on challenges, or whatever that looks like, just trying to rise up to the occasion, I often fall way back from where I thought I was going to go. It's I take one step forward, 3 or 5 backwards kind of mentality. But I do feel like that's how you move into that space of, all right, I'm going to grow, and no matter how hard it is, no matter what happens, this is my choice. Whether it's this cold shower, this really hard workout, or this difficult conversation with my spouse, or whatever it is, I'm going to choose into those things and let them refine me. Is they tend to purify me and burn out my ego until there's those moments where we believe our own hype after a while. Like you hear the praise and the shiny lights or whatever. Like it's just a continual struggle, and I'm grateful for the struggle. I'm grateful for those things that happen to me and how I've been able to flip the script on them. But I'm also grateful for the active choices that I can and do make.
You guys have stuck with us for a solid, chunk of time. I do have two more things I want to bring up. So I'm going to ask you about relationships in a minute because I know those are really important to you. But real quick, Chris, at the beginning, you brought up this idea of like winners win and losers lose. And part of that process when we're slipping back into, when we're winning in one area but we slip back into losing or whatnot, part of that is a recency bias that all of us have. Like how my life was recently is influencing how I feel about my life generally. How do you slip back into winning and being the attitude of a winner when you feel yourself slipping into being a loser or losing?
I don't think you slip into anything. I think you choose to either be unconscious or conscious. And I know we talk about creating an unconscious habit, which is beneficial. But for most of us, when we go back to the old mindset or we slip back into it, it's an inactive or unconscious state. Mm-hmm. And because that is a program and a habit that we've ran for so long, it's easy for our brain to run those neural pathways. It's easy for us to go back to the fight or flight and say safety, it's known. And to me, it is about, again, being present. I think when you are present, you are consciously engaged. And so to me, it's understanding that most of the time we're running a ineffective pattern in our life, and that's the reason we've slipped back into it. And it's time to re-engage our conscious side and to engage. And I'll say, even going back to where Jason's talked about integrity, the same thing, like the truth about integrity is about doing what you say you're gonna do. It's also about learning not to say the things you're not gonna do, right? Because to me, I think we always are like, oh, integrity is doing the right thing. And that's true. On the other hand, what I learned from me, like congruency and integrity, are also understanding about not overcommitting to everything and not saying yes to everything, and understanding my value and my worth, and that will run me down and take away from my integrity, or will have me slip back into old patterns because I'll feel overwhelmed and anxious and stressed, and I'll go, oh my goodness, what's the way I handle this? Drugs and alcohol every time. So I learned to start to filter out what I'm going to say yes to and what I'm not, so I can have more integrity and congruency in my life. And also, just when you know what you're going to say yes to, it adds more value to you because you go like, what do I value? And what do I value in my life? And that's what I'm going to say yes to. Instead of just saying yes to everything and having it drag you down or slip back in, I think the truth of the matter is you got to realize what you value and what's valuable inside you, and you got to say yes to more of that, and you got to practice those healthy things like Jared brought up, running, cold showers, whatever it is for you. You got to keep that in your conscious mind to sit there and do until that's your new pattern. Instead of going, hey, I'm going to drink and do drugs, I'm going to go for a run or take a cold shower or spend time with a loved one or go serve somebody or send somebody a text to get me back from slipping into an old pattern to going in the right direction where I want to head.
Love it. So bring us home, Jason, on relationships. Those are really important to you. You're the hero of your story. What's something on relationships you want to share, point out, bring up, or say?
Oh man, I feel like I could talk about that one forever.
I know you could.
But what's coming up for me is connection. Truly is one of the most valuable, important, beautiful spiritual things I have. Is connection, and the ego side of me is an introvert. Right? It's so easy. It's so easy to go do drugs and alcohol and have every excuse in the world to not do something hard. Like go out and make those connections. But the flip side of taking on that ego with my spirit and building connections is that's where the beauty of life is. That's where I feel the most spiritual. I believe that we're all connected to the same whole. We're all drops in the same ocean, but there's this thing inside of me, this dark wolf that wants to try to hold me down, prevent me from doing things that are hard, and prevent me from seeking out meaningful relationships. And so my most meaningful relationships right now, I've got my mentors, I've got my wonderful girlfriend, of course, my kids, my family. I've also got all these beautiful people in recovery that I'm able to connect with on a daily basis. I'll still find myself trying to run away from those connections because it's easy, right? So that's another time that I get to focus on continuing to do what's hard, and on the other side of that fear, the most beautiful experiences of my life.
Yeah, I like that, how you said that the breakthroughs, the beauty in the breakthroughs, and not the fear, finding that instead.
Yeah.
Everyone, thank you for joining us for this time to apply what really rocks your rock star recovery and connects to the things that matter, which the products of that are joy, progress, happiness, love, beauty, skill set development, love, connection, beauty, joy, all the things that matter in our life. How can we help? Let us serve you. How can we help you win? Give the folks at I Am Recovery a call, 801-407-9998 or imrtc.com. We're very gratefully sponsored this podcast, the Winning Together podcast. We win by winning together. Have a great day, week, or time wherever you're at. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for seeing through the hero's journey. This is the third episode of a 3-part series looking at a recovery client's hero's journey. How did they respond to their call to adventure? How do they engage with their ordeals? And what do they learn? How do they become that person who can resurrect into a new hero, a new person, engage with their lives in a different way? What's the treasure? What can it buy now? What can it open up for you in the future? We're here to win together, serve, and find out and learn and grow together and connect. The Winning Together podcast is, of course, sponsored by I Am Recovery. IAMRTC.com. Phone 801-407-9998. Let's find ways to win together.